Hi there. Welcome to The Lost Art of Sleep. I'm Natalie Johnson, and I'm with Vital Solutions. We focus on organizational well-being, which has three components: individual well-being, team performance, and courageous leadership. Sleep, it impacts all of them. And so there's an optional worksheet available for this micro training. If you don't have access to that worksheet, it's totally okay. Pen and paper will work just fine. And so I want to start off by just talking a little bit about why we require sleep. Sleep is an essential period of recovery. It's the only time that our body and brain have to recover. It is vital to our well-being because it impacts the way we show up physically, mentally, and emotionally. Both quality of sleep as well as quantity of sleep are both really important, because you can sleep for long periods of time but be woken up and interrupted a lot, which is not considered high quality sleep. Or you could sleep not enough, so you only sleep 4 or 5 or 6 hours a night, but it's not enough time even though the quality might be okay. Adults need 7 to 9 hours per night. And I know that there's a lot of people out there, myself included. I had this story for a long time where people say, but I don't need 7 to 9 hours. I only need 6, or I only need 4. I used to be one of those people. I have been proven wrong, and I've been through my own sleep journey that I'll share with you a little bit today. So those of you that have a worksheet, there's a very brief sleep assessment on your worksheet. It asks you 2 questions. If you don't have the worksheet, here's those questions. Do you get 7 to 9 hours of sleep on a regular basis? Yes or no? And rank the quality of your sleep from 1 to 10. 10 would mean really high quality. So go ahead and press pause on this video, answer those 2 questions, and then press play when you're done. And so if you answered no to question number 1, what's your story? What's your story behind why you don't get enough sleep? And so I want to share with you today a story that I had for many years, for like 15 years, not a few years, but a long time. And my story was this: I get about 4 hours of sleep every night, and it's okay because I don't need more than that. I fully recover in 4 hours of sleep. Not only do I feel good, but I wake up with energy. I don't use an alarm clock, and I'm physically fit, so I recover faster. I only need 4 hours of sleep. That was a story that I told myself over and over and over and again for years. And I stuck with that story. Now, it was later in life where I realized, when I really took a step back and looked at the truth of how I was showing up in the world, that 4 hours of sleep was not serving me well. There were parts of my story that I told myself and other people that weren't even true, and a big part of it was made up. And so it was true that I only got 4 hours of sleep. It was true that I didn't need an alarm clock. And one of the reasons was I was very consistent with the time I went to bed. I'd go to bed at 1 a.m. and I wake up at 5 a.m. Weekend, weekday, it was always 1 to 5, 1 to 5. So my body maximized that 4 hours so that at 5 a.m., when it knew it was time to get up, my body would wake me up automatically, and I felt pretty good. What I didn't share was about an hour into my day, I felt like crap. I drank coffee and Diet Coke and energy drinks to keep me going. I was also incredibly irritable, impatient, and unfocused. And I already talk pretty fast, but on caffeine and no sleep, I stumble over my words and I talk really fast and I stutter and don't make a lot of sense. And so I started to recognize, parts of my story aren't necessarily true. The other part is that if you are physically fit, even an athlete, it doesn't mean you need less recovery. You still need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. I read a study early on in my career that said people who are physically fit, specifically athletes in cardiovascular, high intensity cardiovascular sports, they move into deep sleep more efficiently. They still need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So for me, I needed to change my story. And a big part of changing that story that I needed to do was I really needed to think about the story that I wanted and what might happen if I got better sleep. Who are the people and things in my life that are important? And if I were to get better sleep, who would benefit other than me? And that was the beginning to my new story. So I'll share with you my new story that led me to now get 7 or 8 hours of sleep consistently all the time. But I first want to introduce you to our sleep cycle. And so our sleep cycle has 4 stages that make up the cycle. Each cycle lasts about 90 to 120 minutes, depending on the person, and it repeats during the night anywhere from 3 to 5 times. And so here's what happens. When we fall asleep at night, we move into stage 1 light sleep. It's very easy to wake us up in this stage of sleep. And as long as we stay asleep, we move into stage 2 sleep. Stage 2 sleep is still light sleep. It's non-rapid eye movement or non-REM, a little bit harder for us to wake up, and we actually stay here a little bit longer than stage 1 sleep. As long as we stay asleep, we will then move into stage 3 deep sleep. This one, stage 3, really, really important. This is where our body recovers, our skin, our muscles, our organs. This is physical recovery of the body. It's harder to wake us up during this deep sleep. As long as we stay asleep in stage 3, we will then move from stage 3 to stage 4. And it's interesting what happens here. In stage 3, there's a lot of physical body recovery that happens. As we move from stage 3 to stage 4, the physical body becomes paralyzed, but the brain becomes highly active, because as we move from stage 3 into stage 4, we're now moving into recovery of the brain. And so in stage 4 sleep, it's very deep sleep, it's rapid eye movement. This is the stage where we would typically dream. Really hard to wake us up, and this is where we're very, very still, again, paralyzed when we're asleep. Our brain accumulates protein accumulation throughout the day, and it's during stage 4 where that protein accumulation is cleaned out. Today, we know that Alzheimer's and dementia are associated with protein buildup in the brain. Also during stage 4, this is where we're remembering memories. This is where we're laying down new memories of things we've learned during the day. So highly active stage for the brain. And then after we're there, we actually wake up. So we might not remember waking up, but this between stage 4 and stage 1 again is where we might move around and roll over on our sleep, or we might remember waking up briefly, but then we move right back into the cycle. And again, we need to repeat this cycle 3 to 5 times per night for good quality and quantity of sleep. And I'll share with you that where we get messed up, if you will, around sleep, because we are sleep deprived in the United States and really all over the world today, is that we're confusing our brain. In other words, our brain and our body are looking for signs from the environment and from our physiology to tell it it's time to go to sleep and get your recovery now, or tell it don't go to sleep, it's time to be awake and alert and productive. And we're confusing our brain because we're giving it the wrong signs. So during the day, when we need to be awake, really, really important to be exposed to light. Ideally, bright sunshine and light. But if you live in a place where there isn't a lot of bright sunlight, it's sunshine and light. I live in Florida, I get plenty of it. You can expose yourself to bright lights as early as possible in the day to send the message to your brain, be awake, be alert. At night, as you're approaching time for recovery, it's important for your eyes to recognize that it got dark outside. In other words, it's important to not shine bright lights in your eyes. You want to be in an environment that's dark, dim, non-stimulating, and cool. So maybe an hour to an hour and a half before you go to bed, your eyes should notice there's no more light, no more sunlight, not bright lights, and your eyes will send a message to the brain to release melatonin. Melatonin is the hormone that tells the brain sleep is coming soon. And as long as your brain is exposed to what it needs in order to go into recovery, you should fall into sleep pretty quickly. And so what I mean by what your brain is exposed to is rituals that represent sleep. So it's the things that we do very, very consistently right around the time we go to bed, and the brain begins to pick up on those as rituals of sleep. So for example, it might be that I turn off technology about 90 minutes before I go to bed, get rid of the bright light shining in my eyes, get into a dimmer, cooler environment, and then I do kind of the same rituals, like maybe clean up in the kitchen, then go take a shower, brush my teeth, read a book, go to bed. Same rituals every night, and go to bed at the same time every night, even on weekends. Our brain will begin to pick up on all those rituals over and over and over again, so that it knows when the technology goes away, sleep is coming soon. The lights have gone dim, sleep is coming soon. Release melatonin, those rituals of shower, brush my teeth, read a book, go to bed. When you get to bed, your body will and your brain will move into stage 1 much, much easier. Now, some people tell me they don't have trouble sleeping. What they have trouble doing is staying asleep, because many of us, we're so exhausted, even if we're on our technology before we go to bed, we can fall asleep. But what happens is the brain isn't completely inactive yet. In other words, it didn't get the signs that it's supposed to inactivate and go into recovery. So our brain will wake us up with all kinds of thoughts about the next day, thoughts about our kids, thoughts about our job, sometimes crazy thoughts about things that don't even make sense the next day, but that brain goes into overdrive. And part of that is because we've confused our brain. What I recommend for those of you that have the issue with staying asleep is if you wake up in the middle of the night and it's been about 15 minutes and the brain is going and you still can't fall asleep, get out of bed and repeat your rituals, especially if your brain knows the rituals. If you haven't created good rituals yet, another thing you can do is to stop the brain. So you can pull out a piece of paper or a journal and everything that's in your head, get it out of your head and onto paper. It gives the brain and the mind a release. And then you can also focus on mindfulness, because what's happening in the middle of the night is you're thinking ahead, thinking behind, and you're not in the present moment. Putting your brain and your thoughts and your mind in the present moment can help you fall back asleep. And you do that through deep breathing and meditation, where you're focus on the breath, focus on how the breath feels in the body. And so there's many apps out there that can help you do that. Everything from an app that I love called Calm to going to YouTube and looking up different meditations that can work for you. So here are some other suggestions around sleep that can really help you with some of those rituals. I already mentioned this several times. Go to bed and wake up at the same time on weekdays and weekends. Shut down technology at least 45 minutes prior to going to bed. Create a sleep space that is calm, dim lights, cool temperature, and really a sacred place for sleep. Keep technology out of the bedroom so that you can sleep when you can. No caffeine. We're all very different with caffeine, but sometimes caffeine can impact our ability to sleep. No alcohol before bed, or moderation. I know some people like to have their glass of wine. It helps relax them. It's when we go beyond moderation that it becomes a problem and can interfere with sleep. For women, 1 drink is a serving. For men, it's 2. Practice deep breathing or meditation and return the brain to the present. You can create that as a ritual, or you can use that to get back to sleep when you're woken up. Take a bath instead of a shower. A shower is stimulating, increases circulation, which can sometimes increase energy. A bath is more relaxing. And then finally, practice gratitude or journal before you go to bed to help calm the brain. And so I told you I'd share with you my news story around sleep. My news story around sleep is that I get 7 or 8 hours of sleep every night, because it's important for me to have high energy mental focus at work. And it's important for me to be present and a good listener for my husband and my kids, period. That's my news story. So thank you for being with me here today. I hope to see you again. We have a couple other micro trainings out there that you might enjoy, and have a great day.